Hey, what's going on, my friends, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor, and today I'm going to share with you 5 things I think you should know about this upcoming new moon and solar eclipse happening on October 2nd, 2024. It's a very powerful time. You might feel like it's a climactic time right now in your life where there have been many different themes slowly playing out, changes that have begun that you don't quite know where yet they are heading. And now's the time for culmination, for finally bearing the fruits of your labor, not just this past few weeks or month, but for the past several years of your overall spiritual journey. It's heading here to this point of expansion, this point of blossoming. And even though right now you might feel like things are still up in the air, you might still feel quite emotionally out of sorts, hypersensitive, unbalanced, ungrounded. Where is my life heading? Why am I feeling this way? And yet, I would bet for a lot of you, in spite of what I just said, deep down, you know, your intuition knows, your soul knows that things are going in a great direction. Things are working out in a fabulous way. And you know that. You don't see it quite yet, but you feel it. You know it. And this full moon, this new moon rather, and this eclipse is a time where you're going to start to see it. You're going to start to really experience this new version of yourself and start to experience these upgrades that have been kind of long overdue in your life. And if you hang in there with me a little bit, I'm going to break down the 5 specific themes to really help you ride out this very positive but powerful energy in a fantastic way. So anyways, again, welcome to my channel. My name is Victor Oddo, and it's a pleasure to have you here, and I'll see you inside. Theme number 1, divine timing. You may have felt for a long time blocked, stuck. Like there were these plans you wanted to carry out, these goals you wanted to pursue, these dreams you wanted to chase. But you just, as of today, you haven't done it yet. And there's been a million times the reminder ideas popped in your head. Oh yeah, you were going to do this thing. You want to do this thing. It just doesn't seem to be happening. Every time you think of it, you might feel what people say blocked. You might feel sort of perplexed that there's resistance. There's this thing I want to do. I can't wait to do it. And I'm so excited. It fills me up with joy and excitement just to imagine it. At the same time, when it comes down to actually doing it, I feel this resistance. Is the best way I could put it. Is this fear maybe? This contraction energy? Like the inspiration is there one minute and then it's gone, replaced by some anxiety and just a feeling like, all of a sudden, this exciting thing feels very laborious and heavy. And for whatever reason, you just have not been doing it. And the problem with this is a lot of people can start to get in their heads and think like, maybe all those intuitive hits and those inspirations, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I'm not meant to do this thing. Maybe I'm not worthy of doing it. And then the monkey mind really starts working. Because on one hand, you really strongly think you should have been a lot further along and you should have been making great progress with this. It's been a long time since you've had this idea, and here you are still having done nothing, and then you feel ashamed. You feel frustrated. You're watching yourself not doing the things you really believe in your heart you're meant to do, and it's just this downward spiral, which only makes it worse. Now when this thing pops in your head, you associate it with all the times you haven't done it. What gives? What gives? I'll give an example. My wife, Patty, has been for years telling me about this thing she wants to do. My wife, Patty, is really into the plant rose, among other plants. She's into plant medicine. And really, believe it or not, take it for what it's worth, she believes she can communicate with these plants and derive guidance, and almost like they all have personalities and wisdom, and she loves to kind of open up her perception and connect with them, and it's just what she loves to do. And for years she's been wanting and talking about this idea of doing rose coaching, where she basically teaches people to do what she does, where she will to have people like go on this special diet and consume like rose tea or something. I don't know exactly the ins and outs, but it's essentially connecting with the wisdom and power of the rose consciousness. My wife wants to have people do this, and she's done it for many friends and herself several times. She's really good at it. And every time it's like it just doesn't happen. And she was feeling the same way, like almost down on herself because she keeps talking about it and it's not getting done. And you feel like an idiot because you keep talking about it and people are waiting for it. And then she went and she drank ayahuasca like last weekend actually. And she said that entire experience was all about her getting like this final breakthrough or something, this final, I forgot the way she put it, this final alignment or something where now it's time. And she just knows it. She feels it and it's go time for her. So that's why I say divine timing. A lot of times it's just not time. A lot of times you perceptive, intuitive, empathic folks out there have tremendous foresight as to what you're going to eventually do. And then the mind interprets it like, I should be doing this now. But the mind is so flawed and limited and oftentimes miscalculates and stuff like that. And all you may have been doing is sort of peering deeply into the future. And your soul knows that there's just different things you need to go through before you're really at that point where it makes sense to do the thing you are meant to do. Maybe there are certain lessons you've been learning. Have there been? Have you learned a lot in this quote unquote downtime? I can almost guarantee you have, about yourself, about life. How many personal spiritual upgrades have you experienced from the time you had that idea and today? Probably a great many. So my advice to you is not to be so hard on yourself. For example, you see me, I'm making these YouTube videos, right? And the day I knew I wanted to do this, between that day and when I actually started was a span of 6 years. And sometimes there's a part of me that looks back and says, man, you could have been so much further along, man, you know? But realistically, the person I was 6 years ago, I wouldn't recommend their videos, put it that way. I had a lot of growing up to do, a lot of maturing to do, a lot to learn. I just could sort of psychically peer into the future. But what I did, what I don't want you to do, I beat myself up the whole time, feeling like I'm just being lazy or undisciplined or whatever, unfocused. Trust your sense of the timing of things, my friends. And what you might find, contrary to what I've been saying, I do believe a lot of you, it is time. It is time. But in order for it to really be time for you to finally put that foot, step forward, you have to let go of the past. You have to let go of the regret and the stinking thinking and all those things and just remember that everything is always unfolding perfectly, exactly on time. Number 2, kind of going along with this, I wrote down high vibration ideas. Ideas about your future that are so expansive and so exciting that they scare you a lot. That you're like, oh my God, it just brings up so many blocks. It brings up so many fears and insecurities. And am I worthy? Am I capable? All this stuff can sometimes come up when you have these high vibrational ideas that start to pop in the more you do your own shadow work, the more you heal yourself. There sometimes can be this void of nothingness after a big breakthrough, for example. And then these ideas start to kind of come into your brain. You might start to experience synchronicities and just this awareness that this thing is my next step. And boy, would it be like a dream to do it for real. At the same time, it's just so beyond. It's so much bigger, maybe, than you thought. So it can be very, very scary. And whenever this happened to me quite a few times in my career, in my business. For example, and I've shared about this before, there was a time when I felt very safe and comfortable doing one-on-one. I don't have my phone yet. I would do one-on-one coaching. I'd be on the phone. I'd go to the beach. I'd set up shop, look out at the dolphins. I'd talk to people from all over the world, cool spiritual people like you guys, and I'd talk to them and I'd counsel them and intuitively help them. And that supported my family nicely. And it was predictable and it was safe and I was pretty good at it, I would say. I had a lot of experience. But then there came a time when it just became less fulfilling. It became more stressful. I started attracting a lot of clients that didn't really align with me, and it became just a lot of hard work on for many different reasons. This was kind of reflected to me. Also just like a boredom, like I've been there and done that. And then there was this idea around that time to like do retreats. I thought, how cool would it be to work with like a whole bunch of people all at one time and be there in person with them and guide them through my process as in a group container. That would be so much more powerful, maybe so much more exciting. I knew I could travel. I had an idea to do it in Sedona, Arizona, a very beautiful place, if you've been there. And that idea was like, holy cow, that would be like a dream come true. But man, is that different from sitting in my own little spot on the phone with the clients? Like that is like 100 times more nerve-wracking, I'll tell you that. It's very safe with the phone. At the same time, that was where like the universe was putting me. And I realized after a while there was no fighting it. And I just slowly stopped taking the client. And just, there's a creative energy that can kind of be there fueling these projects. So you might find yourself oscillating from the doubts, the blocks, anxiety. Oh my God, can I do it? And at other times you do feel supremely confident, like, because you're getting these ideas that have this type of like high vibrational charge to them. And there's just this knowingness that this is like who you are and this is what you're meant to do. And by God, you can do it. And you feel it, you know it, and you believe it. And then you get doubtful again. It kind of goes back and forth. But the point is, there's this creative energy that will kind of like fuel you into taking action steps. And that's kind of what happened with me. I eventually stopped taking the clients on. I just stopped signing new people up, knowing the other ones would drop off on blind faith. And man, it was a stretch because that was my main source of income, and it was scary. But as I kind of decided to do, I launched my first retreat, and a lot of people signed up, and it was exciting. And then I had all this fear because I didn't know if I could deliver and all that kind of stuff. And it was a whole process. But long story short, after that first retreat, I was driving home with my buddy Josh. He helped assist me at the retreat in Sedona. We were driving back to Las Vegas, and we were just talking about how magical of an experience it was. We felt like we were like this is what it probably feels like to be in like what people call 5D. It feels like we're at this whole other level of passion, joy, ecstasy almost. It was so beautiful, so healing, so guided. I didn't think I was capable of doing it, but when I showed up, I realized this is exactly who I am, and this is exactly what I do. And there's this other part of me that just sort of took over, as it will for you. But the point is, I just wanted to kind of shed light on this experience of these ideas that light you up and also weigh you down big time, because so many of your conflicting beliefs about yourself, about what you're capable of, about what you deserve and things like that, they might start to kind of blast you at times. And my advice to you is to not look at it as a sign you're not meant to do it, but rather look at it as an opportunity to finally re-examine some of these things. Because what you might find is you might start to look a bit more. A lot of times an uncomfortable feeling or block comes up, and we just want to run away from it. We want it to go away. How do I heal it? How do I let go of it? And all it really sometimes needs is a little bit of attention. And sometimes when you really look at it and don't blow it up in your mind, and just sit with it. Okay, you don't believe you're capable of doing the job, Vic. Let's examine that. Let's talk about that. Why? Why exactly do you not think you can do this? Well, I've never done it before. Okay. Has you ever done anything that was have you experienced a first time before in your life ever? Yeah, obviously. And my point is, you can like flesh this out, and you get to the point where you realize this big feeling, this big concern has no legs to stand on. It's a flawed way of thinking that you've just shied away from because of the charge it can bring energetically. So I invite you, and I encourage you to sit with those feelings. And what I like to do is I like to type it out and sort of talk to myself. Like, why don't you think you can do it? Like, well, because I've never done it before. Well, how do you think you get good at anything? Well, I just have to try. Okay. Do you think you'd feel called to do it if you actually weren't ready, Vic? You? No. My point is just go back and forth. Or if you're lucky, you have a good friend, because sometimes a close friend is even better because they can kind of give you more of an honest, objective response to these big concerns of yours that oftentimes make no sense, have no legs to stand on, as I said. But regardless, you're moving up. These high vibrational ideas, whether you like it or not, are going to carry you to this new level of life. You've earned it. It is actually who you are. So you could avoid it and delay it all you want, but it's like there's this awesome thing that you're like putting off. It doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense either. So I invite you, my friend, just to flow with it and trust. Theme number 3, abundance. Now, some of you are thinking, no, Vic, that's my problem, dog. I don't have abundance. I don't have the resources. I don't have enough money in my bank account. Things are actually going very poorly for me, Vic. I'm in credit card debt. I'm in a financial crisis, Vic. What do you mean, abundance? What I mean exactly is that this new moon is going to help you really see your blind spots, where your beliefs about money and abundance are not actually congruent with who you are today. A lot of times I find people's abundance blocks, if you will, are just simply inherited, unexamined mindset of their people they grew up around, their parents. Like, for example, my mom she would spend kind of impulsively, I would say. She'd like to spend and then figure out the finances another time. And then be like, oh God, what have I done? My father, however, was the exact opposite. He was very frugal, worried about money all the time. And if he was going to buy a TV, he'd spend 3 months researching it, finding the best deals, cutting coupons. And he was always very hesitant to part with his money. But both of them worried a lot about money. And consequently, I do. I have both. So I have my father's kind of frugalness and worry and concern. At the same time, I'll sometimes spend impulsively, causing the other part of me to go crazy and be like, what have you done, you idiot? And then there's this other part of me that feels like, no, I got this. It's all good. And I drive myself crazy sometimes. On a deeper level, you can look deeper than that, because that's more of that's like an inclination you may have that doesn't have to control you if you don't let it. That doesn't have to become an actual block. Rather, just some conditioning that you can question and rebel against anytime you want. Usually, abundance is an issue of worthiness, I have found, at least for myself, at a very, very deep level. And if I, on a deep level, don't believe I deserve the money I want, or the circumstances I want, or the dream job I want, or the partner I want, then even when it comes, I push it away. I don't recognize it. I sabotage it. I mess it up, reinforcing, once again, this belief that, yeah, you never deserved it to begin with, bro. And what this new moon might help you do is become aware of that within yourself, that deeper core story that has no business in your life today anymore. This new moon can help you shift it by simply becoming aware of it and seeing it from this expanded place, which you are now at, and seeing that doesn't make any sense. Just the other day, I did this breathwork session right there on my floor. I just decided to do it one day. It was like last week, actually. And at the very end of this hour-long session, I had this really, really powerful breakthrough that I'm hesitant to get into too deeply. But basically, I became aware of a core story I have. And it's kind of dark, I'll just say. When I was a little kid, I was 9 years old, I was hit by this big firecracker. Randomly, I was watching a fireworks show at a neighborhood party, like a 4th of July party. And this huge mortar, it was lit, and then it tipped over on accident, and it shot at the crowd, and it just hit me directly, and it was very tragic. I was in a lot of pain. I still have scars on my body to this day. It was very traumatic, obviously. And I realized in this breath work, it's not funny, it's actually kind of sad, but there's a part of me, a big part of me, unfortunately, that really believes that I deserve that. I wasn't lighting the firework or anything. I was just sitting there innocently, a little kid, with my popcorn watching the show, and bam! And somehow, for whatever reason, at that age, I concluded that you must have deserved this pain, this suffering. And and it almost like reinforced this thing where I want to like always punish myself, where I want to like literally like push away the things that I deeply want and stuff. And it was very, very surprising to be like, to see that, and to see that I've been actually going through life operating from that foundational, just misaligned story. How sad. And it was like a shock, honestly, to see that. But what was really cool is I was able to observe it from this like breathwork consciousness, this breathwork we do. In fact, I'll leave a link. I have a free session if you want to check it out where I guide it. It's the same exact thing I did. I'll leave a link down below. Check it out if you want. No pressure. But it's a powerful type of breathwork that does put you in this expanded state of consciousness. And I was able to see that belief finally from like a wiser perspective. And at first I was like, maybe I did deserve it. But I was able to start to question it, kind of like what I was saying earlier. I was able to like investigate that and say, why would you think that? What the hell do you think? What makes you think you deserve that, bro? And I had no answers, and I realized I didn't deserve that. I deserve all the things that I want in my life. And I realized how that core story has been influencing my relationship with my wife, my relationship with money, my relationship with my friends, my relationship with my business, my relationship with myself has all been weighed down, constricted, distorted by this belief. And I've gone through this before. I've gone through different layers of this before. And what I had just done is I believe what you're all could do is become aware of a core story, see it for what it is, and then stop acting from that, basically. And I can feel where my life is headed is to a place, an elevated place of more abundance. It hasn't quite come yet, but I just know where it's heading. I've gone through these cycles over and over many times. And I think you're all going through that as well, at least what it feels like for the new moon, for what it's worth. So now is an opportunity to really shine a light at what are your core stories of worthiness, what you deserve. You know, I speculate, and I was thinking about this during breathwork. I have like a theory about why a lot of people, most people honestly, don't have a high self-worth in truth. I believe because most people have fairly unconscious parents. I'm a fairly unconscious person now. We all are. Most human beings are quite unconscious. I don't have the capacity or the presence to give people the love they deserve because I have a shadow. I have all these issues. Same with my parents. Not babies though. Babies, they come into the world completely not entitled, but like they know, they're like, have you looked into the eyes of a baby lately? They have this light, this piercing look of divinity to them, even though they're kind of like, they seem unaware. There's also this brilliant angelic awareness in a baby, almost anyone I've ever seen, until it's like they come in full. And then they're parented by parents who do their best but are also flawed and only have sort of a restricted capacity to give love. So these babies eventually start to believe they deserve only the love that they're given, which is very, very much reduced, again, because of the unconsciousness of most people. Hopefully that made sense. So I think most people go through life expecting the love, which could also be looked at as abundance, that they were taught to believe they deserve, instead of the love and abundance they actually, all of us actually deserve. And it can manifest in these different stories and things like that. But now is a time of breakthrough. Now is the time on the planet, even though there's all sorts of crazy things going on, it's a time of awakening, a time of expansion, a time of liberation from these old stories. This old paradigm, this old way of doing things is obsolete. It's no longer in harmony with your now frequency. So now you can break through these abundance blocks and even more so, pierce into your own worthiness blocks and realize just from common sense, you are and have always been worthy, and so have I, and so is everybody else on this planet. But you get to really own that. And imagine going through life knowing that. Really strutting your stuff, knowing you deserve love, you deserve abundance, you deserve all the different things you're passionate about to come to fruition. That's what I mean about abundance by this. Number 4 is going to seem kind of out there, but really not. I wrote down releasing karmic patterns. Have there been patterns? I know there have. I know the answer, but have there been patterns, just humor me, in your life that you've just repeated over and over and over again until the present day? Mainly with your relationships, mainly with yourself, with your habits, with different cycles of life you create. Maybe you're always attracting the same exact person, which leads to the same exact circumstance, which eventually leads to the same exact outcome of suffering. And it's like this karmic pattern. And it's always initiated by what seems like a good idea. And then it turns into this whole thing, and you're like, oh my God, here it is again. Why am I attracting this? And you may have gone through that quite heavily recently with this previous eclipse, and maybe even a couple moons ago as well, last couple months, you may have felt some of these like patterns really coming out of you very strongly. These dysfunctions within your relationships, within your habits, within the way you are, the way you operate through life, basically. You may have been like sort of observing yourself playing these old patterns out in kind of an intense way, which can make you seem like you're very far away from having any chance of, transcending them because you're stuck in them more than ever, right? I went through this, I probably talked about recently with my wife. We just had these same exact dysfunctional, toxic ways of arguing. And I'm not going to get into the whole story, but it's like the worst of our shadow comes out sometimes, and we just duke it out. And it's this disappointing thing where we're both disappointed in ourselves. And it was happening recently. So much so that we were like, man, we wondered if we could even stay married. That's how bad it got, honestly. And we were really in a kind of a dark place. All of a sudden, that pattern, that experience, among other ones as well, just different habits and things I had they're just gone. I feel like I'm just not even attracted to them anymore. And who knows, knock on wood, but it really feels like finally, after all these years, I don't see myself going back to some certain things. So what I want to say to you is to not lose hope, to not see an intense playing out of these patterns as a sign that it's hopeless, but rather sometimes these things have to come out really intensely one last time for it to kind of clear away. It's kind of like you can get the insight, which you may have already had, and then there's all this energy, this residual energy that just has to kind of come out and play out one or two more times. And it's like, oh God, the insight was useless. But then you might just forget about it. And then all of a sudden you just look back and say, oh, I haven't done that in a while. I haven't felt those feelings in a while. They don't seem to be in me anymore the way they once were. And that to me is very exciting. It's just, I'm always amazed at just how much we can transform. I've had certain things I've worked on within myself and seen in clients as well for just years. Just this ongoing, heavily layered onion of shadowy mess. Karmic, past life, ancestral, early childhood, just blah. And then one day, and there's no discernible, glorious, oh, it's gone. It's just, you realize it's been a while and you just can't find it. And then eventually you start to go through life and certain things that once would have triggered it, you're just neutral. You can respond finally like a rational adult to these things that used to once drive you crazy. And I just say all this, I don't know, I guess to talk about it, but don't lose hope. Don't lose hope. There have been many things I've struggled with and that I've been able to overcome. Not all of them. There's many I have not yet. I'm not perfect, but there have been many things I never really actually believed I could overcome. And I have, and you can as well, because this is a very unique time, again, that we are living in, where big soul level transformation not only is possible, but is happening right now. Number 5, you might get this, you're going to hear it from me today, but you might also be getting this in your own life. Reflections. You are more than ready. I know we talked about divine timing previously, about, well, maybe it wasn't the time. I think now is the time for a lot of you. And in some sense, you may have been able to do this entire time. But a lot of times we don't see ourselves the way we actually are. It reminds me of this painting I saw years ago at a friend's house. My friend is a very wealthy entrepreneur and has really nice, expensive, like beautiful paintings. And I was at his house in Sedona years ago when he was moving. And I'd been to his other house, so I saw where all the paintings, I've seen several of the paintings before, and all of a sudden there was this like pile of paintings, on the floor. He was moving and things like that. And then my favorite painting, this one of this beautiful shaman goddess, I would say, that I have like the replica, the canvas, and he has the original. It's a gorgeous thing. I saw it there, and I noticed some of these paintings have gotten a little bit disturbed during the move. And this one in particular had this little black residue blemish on it or something. And ever since, that stuck with me. And then I'll tell you why. It's because if you were to put that painting up, which he did, no one's going to be zeroing in and saying, oh man, you see that blemish? You see that little speck of dirt there? You are in awe when you see this painting. It's so beautiful. Or maybe you won't, but there's been things like that you can relate with, hopefully. You don't see the blemish. We do in ourselves. You and me, we're this beautiful painting as well, even more so because we're like these divine expressions of the one. And we have blemishes. And most people only see the blemishes and then falsely conclude, it's not ready. I'm not ready. It's not time. I'm not capable. I'm not worthy. Nonsense. You are that painting, my friend. And it doesn't matter if I tell you you're the painting. That doesn't do you any good. What I'm trying to suggest to you is that this new moon and eclipse might help you finally see that within yourself. And maybe it's because I'm telling you, that's your permission slip. Maybe it's something else will happen in your life. And it's so obvious to me this is happening. I just did I don't really do one-on-one coaching anymore, as I mentioned, but I'm in this circumstance where I did yesterday. I had 6 in a row I'm not going to get into the details, it's unnecessary, but I had 6 one-on-one Zoom calls in a row. And so many of these people I saw, these are people who want to do what I do, have like a YouTube channel and make money online and coach, things like that. And so many of them are so cool. They're like, holy cow, this person is so unique, so tapped in, so just beautiful in all ways. And it's like fascinating for me to like witness them talk about their struggles getting started. And a lot of them I just said, you just gotta do it, man. You're making too much of this in your head. There's nothing stopping you. You are meant for this. I can see it. It's screaming at me. How do you not see it? It was so interesting. And I can relate though, because it's the same thing. When I sometimes complain about, I really suck at this or whatever, people will oftentimes correct me. But now's the time to wake up out of these old stories, these old beliefs that are just not only limiting and negative, but just quite frankly not true. It's not who we are. We are the painting. And we have blemishes. And you know what? I would say these blemishes make us cooler. If anything, they make us unique. These blemishes brighten up the other areas of our painting. And we need them. We could have just been this beautiful painting this whole time, but we chose to come into Earth to get a little muddy, a little blemishy, and to do what? To become even brighter, to become even more self-aware, more of an embodiment of our true potential, possessing even more wisdom and experience and notches on our belt. And it's like, I feel like, almost like you're at a racetrack and you can't go forward. And you're like, man, I have all these blocks, I have all these chains, and you look down and there's nothing there. There's nothing there but the sunshine and the black pavement to freaking go. And all you gotta do is go. And then you're gonna see that you are more than ready, my friend. And I hope you do, because I have met so many people just like you, I bet, who are sitting on all this capability, all these creative ideas. And man, the best analogy I can come up with is this tarot card. Maybe I'll get a picture of it. It's kind of cool. And I'll leave you with that. It's this tarot card where it shows this little boy. I'm going to put it on the screen. You see this little boy? And you see like there's the lock, there's the gate there, and he looks like he wants to get out. And it looks awesome on the other side. And he thinks it's locked, but if he doesn't bother to look down, the lock is unlatched. And in your case, there is no lock. There is no gate. There is nothing stopping you from being the person you're capable of being by attracting the life that you deserve, and the love and the abundance and the passion and the anything else you can list. You deserve it and are capable of having it, and then probably much, much more as well. So I'm very excited about this new moon, my friends, and I hope you are as well. Thank you all for listening, and I wish you an amazing day. Much love.